everything was shot
I'm telling you
well.
right
It was
now,
very done
I have
well.
kids, leashes.
You gonna leash a 10-year-old? Wait, that's a whole different topic.
You're not too old to get a leash. That's what
You're not too old to be leashed. That's what if we have learned today.
Yeah.
Whitney, if you go too far out of my... Whitney, come on over here. What's up, Internet World? We're the News 19 Nerds. I'm Leroy.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Michael.
We got it.
It's the little things.
What just happened?
She was just happy that we were able to get the name right, and we
Did we
the
not
right-
always get them right?
No, because last week it was an awkward pause because you went like this, and me and Michael didn't know who you were referring to.
Oh,
So we didn't go
okay.
down the line.
Okay.
Small victories.
I remember that now.
we
but
take
like,
small wins.
It just
Yeah.
really caught me off guard that y'all were really excited about the name, and I was like,
Yeah.
did I miss something? Was it an email that I didn't get?
it flows so well, like I feel like a part of the crew.
That's what's up. You gonna watch Westworld?
What's that?
Nope.
Okay, well, guess we'll see you outside of season 2. It's cool, just checking.
Is it a good show?
It's a very good show.
It's
It's a show you have to pay attention to.
It's a
though.
very heady show.
Yeah.
Heady show.
Like,
What do you mean?
multiple timelines, jumping characters.
Oh, it's complex. Do you think not complex?
It is, but I think it's more. It really makes you question the idea of self, not complex as self. Like,
I don't got time for this.
see that's what I said. That's what I said.
So
That's
we'll
why I
see
said
season 2 of The Outsider.
Listen,
then.
here's the thing. I thoroughly enjoy doing these reviews with y'all. It's fun, so it makes me want to watch it. But also at the same time, I gotta get a break. I need to watch something light because, like, I don't know.
I would say I don't think Westworld is as dour as The Outsider.
Which one of y'all picked up a scholastic vocabulary book? Because you said heady and you said dour.
I feel like that's an everyday word, is it not? I'm sorry. I like words.
How often do you know somebody says dour? Y'all not gonna try. Now, what they not gonna do is try to play me. Your girl is smart, but let's be real. How often do y'all use the word dour in
I'm
regular?
so glad you got words.
How often do y'all use the word dour in regular conversation? Let's be real.
I try to use the word machinations all the time. Ever since Darcy got tripped up, been reading it in a script and yelled at a producer and said, "What is machinations?" And I was
Just
like,
so y'all know, all this is staying in because I'm editing it. This is the review for episode 7 of The Outsider. We ain't talked about that yet, but yeah.
I mean, they should know from
Y'all not gonna try to play me though. I'm smart.
the super on
Nobody
the,
said you were.
But I just felt like y'all was like dour, machinacious, heady,
machinations.
Did you say machinations?
machinations,
Like macadamia? What are you saying?
macaroons, whatever. Y'all need to know that I've been up since about 2 o'clock this morning. It's now 3:47.
Man,
so
2 o'clock, I loaded another save on my game.
I don't want to hear it, but you took a nap in between. I've been
I
going
did.
hard.
I did.
Okay.
If it makes you feel better, I hadn't eaten today.
How does that make me feel better?
I'm struggling with you.
Are you really?
Hey, y'all focus, okay? Because we'll be here all day
I'm
with
sorry,
this foolishness. Quick question though: Did you have any more dreams or nightmares about El Coco?
No.
El Cuco? No. Okay, just
No.
checking.
And let's keep it that way.
Okay. So like I said, episode 7. We'll do non-spoilers first.
Okay.
Just overall thoughts of episode 7.
It was lit. I'm not really sure why I did that. Maybe I shouldn't have done this so late in the afternoon.
Nah, all this is staying in.
Hey, we gonna do the next one at 4 o'clock.
Right. Wait, well, I want to go sleep. Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet.
We'll give her some caffeine. Take this Red Bull. We do this at 7 p.m.
Right.
Y'all, let me tell y'all what I loved about this episode. Okay, so what was so good is, you know how, like, sometimes you can tell an episode is just about to be like a cliffhanger episode. It's all going to lead up to, and we'll see you again for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what happened. You got it all laid out, and it was good.
Yeah. I've been kind of looking online about other people's reviews, just to, like, seeing what people are saying, and a lot of people, I can't remember the journalist who wrote the AV Club review, but they really enjoyed this episode, saying, and it's something we've talked about before, this slow really kind of moves at a methodical pace, deliberate pace all the time. Whether that, for some people might not like it, some people do, but it knows what show it wants to be. It's not trying to change for anybody else. And they're kind of saying the show finally kind of built to something for all that stuff that's built up, and I agree. It's like, yeah.
Yes.
I think the other reason why it moves so slow is because it's working in real time. A real criminal investigation is not wrapped up in 45 minutes plus commercials.
True.
So we're used to digesting Law and Order or Criminal Minds where the unsub is here, let's go here, shoom, got him, wrapped up. And then they have like, yeah, that was a hard case. That we don't have that. There's doubts, there's when you think about how long it's been since Terry Maitland died, was killed, and then how long the Peterson boy was killed, to right
Maybe
now,
we're at a month now, maybe?
at least.
Yeah,
We're
at least,
hovering
yeah.
around a month, and so we're on episode 7. And you think about everything that has happened in between the introduction of Holly. You've got the defense attorneys. The one thing it's not really a spoiler. There is something I think missing in this episode, but you don't miss it because you get an introduction of something we had not seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it. I love the timeline of this, and I think the show is intentional in the pacing because it gives us an opportunity to really get to know these characters. And the more we get to know these characters, the more we become invested in their individual stories, and the more you become invested in the show as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really any character that I'm like, man, I hope they die. Even Holly's like, or not even that you hope that they die, but that you would be sad. You know, some people are like, oh, if that character dies, I'll be okay. Like, I really care for all of these characters, even Holly's boyfriend.
Oh, Andy, man,
You know what I'm saying?
I need Andy to make it. I don't think he will, but I need
He
him to
not.
make
He
it.
the first to go. However, you care about Andy. You get to know a little bit more about him. And so I love how intentional they are in letting us really get to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of each of the characters. And I think that makes the show all that more human.
Mm-hmm.
And all that more relatable and all that more endearing, honestly.
But you're dealing with such a unbelievable topic. You're dealing with, do you believe in the devil? And in a sense of not like the devil itself, but like, do you believe evil exists?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard thing for some people to swallow, because here's Ralph Ben Mendelsohn's character, the three people in this show who deserve some type of award nomination is Ben Mendelsohn, Cynthia Erivo, and Mark Menchaca. Those 3 people need to be recommended for some type of award, because every time Ralph is on screen, he like he's going along with it, but you can tell he is still struggling with this.
Putting on.
And you and let's be honest, if someone came to you and was like, "Hey, we work in the news business. You are putting on somebody who's accused of committing this crime, and you have evidence of this person someplace else," how would we, like, he is the everyman of saying, there's no way, and everybody else is a believer. Everybody else is going down this rabbit hole, and he's the one lone holdout.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see a man come to terms with. I always say this, and I'm not to bring religion into it. If you believe in heaven, you have to believe in hell. Mm-hmm. You can't have one without the other. And you're now seeing people who believe in heaven and now have to come to the realization that there is evil in this world, and you are now face to face with it. Mm-hmm. And what do? So we've seen people who are like, I'm out. I don't understand it. And then you have some people who are like, we need to get this. And you have some people who are struggling coming to terms with that. And that's what this show really is. This idea of these people coming to terms, like you said, we're invested. You love Jeannie's character, looking out for Ralph. Maybe, hey, I love you. Maybe we shouldn't be, And
it's, and she does Mary Winningham.
Yeah.
She does a great job of not being a stereotypical nagging wife. Because I feel like that can always be a trope that you get into.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't. A perfect example is, and I can't think of her name now, but the woman who played the wife in Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
People really didn't like her, Skylar. And I think she's a great actress, but people did not like the character Skylar.
They did not like her.
I think Mary Winningham does a great job of
spoiler
not
alert,
being
she was kind of right.
She was. She should have listened.
If you hadn't seen Breaking Bad, spoiler alert, the woman was right.
She was. But in particular,
really?
Spoiler alert in life.
The whole time you were talking, I don't know who she was looking at, but she was like,
Spoiler alert in life.
I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, I am. Yeah. But Jeannie Anderson, the character, is a great job of not being like a nagging wife. She's somebody who cares, and at the same time, she knows there's a danger out there.
But not only do you saw that she cares about her husband, she cared about Glory. Like Glory Maitland is essentially going to destroy this entire town with that
Burn
lawsuit. And even though her husband is the reason why her husband's not dead, Glory is still open to Jeannie, because Jeannie is so personable and working with her. So like the whole thing with the kids, she was like, let me talk to him. She didn't have to involve herself. We know there are plenty of couples who, you have your thing and I have my thing. And we've seen through this entire investigation, without Jeannie, Ralph is nothing. It really is. Like Jeannie and Ralph may be dismissive at times to what Jeannie is seeing because of the personal loss they had. But Ralph wouldn't, and same thing with Jeannie. They are, it's a symbiotic relationship. They work well together. And you saw that in this episode where she wasn't the nagging wife, where she was like, you saw that emotion, that pathos, and I think that's a very, I give credit not just to the actors involved, but to the people who sat down in the writer's room and the directors to say, we're not going to just speed through this and get, because that moment we got, there's a couple of moments that we got that I was like, I wanted those early on, but they mean so much more now in episode 7 versus what I got that in episode 2.
Yeah, and I think too, with her, she's never been more desperate. You know what I'm saying? Like I think what I loved is it reminded us that every single person who's involved in hunting down this boogeyman has huge things to lose. Like if Ralph gets got, she's by her, like she literally has nobody. And so to hear her, is that a spoiler?
No.
Okay, so
because if Ralph dies, they've already lost their son.
Okay, exactly. So the desperation that you see from her in this episode is so real. Because I mean, it's if you have any loved one who's going out to do a job or whatever, you know, it's that like, I need you to be safe. Like you don't have to do this, whatever that looks like. And it was so real to me, and like it broke my heart when she was talking to Ralph. Because I was like, dang, Ralph, just set this one out. Come get your girl.
But one of the things you saw is certain people did sit it out, and you saw that the contrast where some people are like, I've been down this road before, and it makes you, regardless of how you feel, and I've said this before, regardless of how you feel about people who are first responders or law enforcement politically. These are men and women who go out, and when everybody else is running that way, they're running this way.
Direction.
And so that idea that every night could be a night that they don't come back, and here's somebody who's going, Ralph is suspended, or he's on paid leave.
Yeah.
He don't have to do this. None of these people who are doing this have to do this. Andy, who came down from where he was in Ohio to Georgia. Holly, who's getting paid, but she could have easily been like, hey man, I don't know what this is. This on y'all. You have the lawyer who's actually looking out, trying, because they all realize if we don't do this, who will?
Yeah, and I wonder, it makes me just thinking about, I wonder how many times, if she's ever had that conversation with Ralph before. Like, Ralph don't go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if she's ever, and I don't think like she seems like the character who may have or has done that a lot of times, so it just shows the gravity of the situation in which she's like, don't do this, like, stay, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, she married a detective, she married a police officer, and they put their life on the line every single day, but in this episode, you know, she's like, whoa, do not leave. Do not go.
She's worried about it.
She's worried.
And I
was worried.
I have been very impressed with every episode of this show. Even now, like it's one of those things where I know it's going to end, and I'm glad, but I don't want it to end. Like I want a conclusion, but I'm like, I want to watch these people more. Like this is one of those. To me, this is the first best show of the season. Outside of everything else, like HBO has done an amazing job with ending the year with The Watchmen and starting with The Outsider, and then right after that we talked about Westworld. This is one of the best shows of television. Like why it's not as popular as it is, I get, because it's such a heady. There's that word again. Actually, you know what we ought to do?
It's a tough subject.
No, we should do a word of the day. We use it's like a word calendar.
Y'all not gonna try to play me.
I wasn't saying for you.
Again.
I feel shade. I feel shaded.
We're just saying
Shade.
But yeah, can we get the spoilers now?
Spoilers.
Yeah, be spoilers. Spoiler
It's time for spoilers.
I'm gonna say this.
Today.
Grandpa got scratched.
Yeah.
Did he ever?
I think Grandpa got scratched.
He got.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to see Grandpa take out the kids. You know
That's
what
how
I'm
it's
saying?
going. I'm telling you right now.
If this thing feeds off of that's gonna be
But
some stuff.
it's
I don't
not.
wanna see that.
It's not just that. Holly said something that I think a lot of people might not have picked up on in the car. Because one, I was waiting for this conversation between Holly and Ralph, and it wasn't enough, but it was good enough. Like everybody's been waiting on that. Holly, when Ralph asked her, "What does this creature want?" and she said, "What anything wants, to exist and to survive.
Yeah.
It wants to and in order for it to do that, it needs to feed and it needs to procreate." And that's the one thing I was like, it's some version of this is going to get away. Like, they may get this one, but some version of it I think is going to get away. And man, when I saw it scratch Grandpa, I was like,
They got Gramps. They got him. I said no. At first, I thought Grandpa was having a heart attack because he took him down.
Oh yeah.
I thought like he was having like a bad physical reaction to whatever happened, like shock, heart attack, whatever. And then I realized, oh, go there, scratch.
well, not only that, he saw the face, and the face was it wasn't fully formed.
No, yeah.
Remember how?
Wait, I thought it was fully formed.
No,
No, it's
remember,
he looked kind of like baggy in the eyes a
remember,
little bit.
because that's why everybody looked, and everybody was like, everything else looked human, but he still hadn't gotten that face right yet.
I thought he just looked like what's his name?
Claude.
He looked
Claude.
like Claude,
Patty.
but Claude went through some things.
His face,
his face wasn't
his
fully
face
formed
wasn't
yet.
fully formed, and that's why he stopped. He was like, what's wrong with you?" And it's this episode, you finally got to see so many things come together.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said about this whole idea of Jeannie wanting Ralph to not go, you saw Alec Pelly, who was the detective, who was one of the believers, who was like, "Man, I started tasting that copper. This is out." And then he felt bad. Like, he was like, "Damn, I should have went." And the lawyer's like, "What the?
Yeah,
Come on, man."
why are you flip flopping kind of
I
thing?
really like that idea of when they were at the house, they found Claude, and the two of them showed up, and it was almost like the Avengers coming together. It was like, all right, we good, we're here, and then the detective showed up, and you were like, "Holly, what you about to say?" And Ralph was like, "You better not say it." And Holly was like, "He here."
He here.
It's this show does a great job of putting people in cars and just letting conversations happen.
Yeah.
We had I guess last episode with Holly and Jack, and now we have Holly and Ralph, and then Eunice and Andy.
And don't forget, Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack and the creature.
Oh, y'all, okay, so
That
two
was
things.
very spooky to see him. Yeah, this hand kind of like, oh.
No,
geez.
y'all. The creepiest part, probably one of the creepiest moments of this whole show, and it's some creepy stuff going on, but probably my top 5, top 10 is when he told Jack to hand him
The block
with the guy and his pictures and the family.
Because he knew that was messing with Jack, and he was like, "Hand it to me."
Oh, I thought he was doing that because he wanted to like bask in the
He might have.
in the
Could've
in the
been both.
sadness
Might have
and
been.
the
Could've been both.
despair that he had just caused.
It might have been, because the way Jack was looking at it, he was like, and it kept turning to a different image, and Jack was like, Boy was like, "Hey man, I got you,"
Oh.
and reached up. I was like,
I took it
'cause-
completely different.
But the thing is, that's the beauty of this show, that you could look at it and say he's basking in his kill,
Yes.
but the thing that I loved about that scene was, you did not know he was in the car the whole time
No, that was cool.
until you saw that hand, and you were like, you never see the creature like in its real form. You see it in its human form, and every time you saw it, you were still like,
Ugh. And he sounded like Claude, but not Claude.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like the pacing of his voice, the tone, like it was Claude, but it wasn't Claude. But that, I'm telling you, that shook me because, and even y'all, the sounds
Oh, the eating and
of
stuff.
him eating the meat,
Yeah.
I literally was like, am I gonna be able to make it through this? Like
Yeah,
it was that whole situation, the eating and the car ride where he took the block with the family members on it, that was just like skin crawl to me, you know. But again, I took the block as like he's weak, he wants to bask in all of the pain that he has caused and created.
I mean,
Like a murder, like you know how like some murderers keep trinkets.
Sure.
That's like that. That's what I was like. Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think looking back at this episode now, I think the trailer for the episode did a good job because I definitely thought that kid was gonna get got based on the trailer.
Oh, for sure.
I was like, oh, that kid gone. There's gonna be another one. But everything
Hey,
was shot
I'm telling
well.
you
It
right
was
now,
very done
I have
well.
kids, leashes.
I always know where this kid's
Nope. Because you saw how quick.
at. Hey, at least you know where the kid
At
at.
least you know the kid is at. Because
That wasn't a child though. That he was a babe, basically a teenager.
Nah, he was, what, 10, 12, right around that.
You gonna
like
leash a
6.
10-year-old? Wait, that's a whole different topic.
You're not too old to get a leash. That's what.
You're not too old to be leashed. That's what if we have learned today.
Yeah.
Whitney, if you go too far out of my... Whitney, come on over here. He got a mask on. What's wrong with you?
Man.
I'm looking out for your safety.
I can't stand you.
Whitney, come on. This don't look good.
But y'all, when he put his hand on, look, because that was Little Sam, y'all, I
Yeah.
literally was like, Little Sam, no.
Yeah,
And what I
Sam.
kept thinking was, in my mind, I watched how I automatically, like, fast forwarded to the grief of the grandparents. I fast forwarded to the blame that the sister was going to feel on herself because she was flirting with boys instead of being around her brother. Like, I automatically
You
was
knew,
like,
you knew what was going to
right,
happen.
I knew what was going to come. And she said, not on my watch. Woo, woo,
Yeah.
woo. And got her
I'll
little
talk to y'all
thing.
later. Let me go find my brother.
But the
it
thing,
was nice.
it was so amazing that it didn't end the way we thought it was going
Right,
to.
I was not expecting that.
And you were like, oh, he got away. And you were like, wait, if it did, it was that thing where you were like, this didn't end the way I thought it was. So what's going to happen next?
Right.
Because you were like, you expected the little kid to be gone, that this whole search party, they're going to come looking for Claude and the little boy's missing and there's going to be DNA evidence, but he didn't get
Right.
Sam. And so you're like, well, what's going to happen next?
Because it seems like all the detectives, they were surprised that the creature was in the town. They weren't. They were just going just to watch Claude, so they knew where he was. They didn't. They weren't expecting for the creature to also be in the town as well. So it's just like,
Because nobody picked up on when they couldn't get a hotel room what event was in
The
town.
festival, yeah.
And so no one picked up on that. And it's one of those things where you, because you're on the outside, you can see all the parts. So it's like you're looking over. You don't realize that they don't see, like they don't know that, they just know Jack is gone. They don't know that Jack is literally in town with them, with El Cuco, with the boogeyman, that they literally followed this, I don't know if they followed Claude or what, but they literally are in the same vicinity. And so it's these little things. The one thing I will say that I thought was very interesting, I didn't miss it, and I'm kind of glad, was you didn't see Gloria Maitland in this entire episode.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting. She got a nice shine of how her life is going, but in this episode, it was almost like they took out Gloria Maitland and they put in more scenes with El Cuco or the creature, and it fit. It didn't miss a beat. You saw Jeannie do her big send off. You saw Alec Pelly and the lawyer. You saw more of Eunice, but you didn't see Gloria, and all of it worked. I thought it was very, very good.
Okay, so tell me if this might not make sense again. Sorry, sleep deprived. So, did y'all get a feeling that we got to know more about El Cuco's character, like his
How he works and how
he
operates.
operates, but just
Yeah.
like his demeanor and his character.
Yeah.
Like, clearly it is evil, vile, any negative, nasty adjective, big word that you can come up with. That is what this thing is. But he's
I
also
feel like she
like,
took a shot at us.
I did not. Maybe a little bit. But you also got to, he's just like, or it is just, I'm trying not to use
Disrespectful.
disrespectful,
'Cause remember
just
it
like
threw-
in
it
you
threw
know?
the thing
Yeah,
at
it
him.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was like,
It just-
Son,
Yes.
when it threw the thing at Jack, I was like, it was really one of those things where you were like, dude, you already kidnapped Jack. He's already
Right.
killed a person. He's already destroyed his life.
Yeah.
You beat him up with his mom who used to abuse him. Do you really got to throw body parts at him?
just disrespect. He just like Cuco is just disrespectful
Yeah.
and clearly, and it's like, and people are probably like, no, duh, it's evil, but
It-
like,
It's like it's
You know what I'm saying? It's like, because clearly when we hear about villains and when we hear about evil, that's where it stops. Is that it's evil, it's a villain, but like we get to see the nuances, the little nuances of this.
That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
The barking at Jack was like Jack is already your slave. You don't have to do that.
I'm like,
But
damn.
it just beats down Jack. Every single chance it gets.
And then we heard that Jack, then I felt even worse for Jack when we found out that all he wanted to do was be a sharpshooter. And he passed all the classes with flying colors. And then he failed the psych exam. And I was like, oh.
And that's the thing. We knew he failed. And we knew why. Because his childhood. Because his mom.
Because his mom was...
And because his mom was... And then, so here you have this guy who... Shout out to Mark Menchaca. Because... The show really set him up to be a one-dimensional character.
You seem like it for sure, yeah.
You really set him up to be the stereotypical bad cop that we see in television shows and movies, and even in the news media. You set him up to be that guy. And going through this show, you see Lawrence, as I said, and I've heard it before, but only because it's Lorne. Hurt people. And you see Jack's character, and you realize that this is a man who has been in pain before El Cuco showed up. And now you see El Cuco's like, no, you. And it's like, not only this man has dealt with pain his life, now you do this to him? Like, it's one of those things where you're just like, that's true evil. Not just the murdering of children. I get that. I'm not, but the idea that you have a man who's beat down, you can control this person, and you treat him the way that you did, shows another side of the evil. That it's not just because it could just be biological. Oh, I have to eat kids. Oh, well, I understand that, scientifically. But you don't have to treat Jack that way, and yet you do.
He's just disrespectful.
On top of that, we also realized. Because for a while I thought he only ate kids.
So did
no,
I.
he eats whatever he needs to.
I think he prefers kids.
So now we know he prefers kids.
He prefers
because of all the grief it can do, or the ripple effects or whatever.
And that's you're like, so you can, because Jack even brought it up. He's like, you just ate. He's like, no, and you're like, oh.
But he said that man was like ridden with cancer or something like that.
He was like, and he's like,
I think eating. Oh, I even hate saying the word. I think his preference, his meal choice. Makes him stronger. I took it as the reason that he prefers children is because that makes him stronger.
Maybe
versus
because it's
an
fresher
adult.
meat.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't. Maybe I was thinking like innocence, purity. You know what I'm saying?
If you're going to cause the most devastation and destruction in a community, what's the best way to do it through a child?
Right, and so that is why that's what I lean towards. But yeah, y'all, I literally said this thing is super disrespectful.
It was.
And it was just unnecessary. Now let me ask you this. I'm still a little confused. Do you think that Jack has any free will at all?
He tries. I
Like,
think he does.
I'm torn
Maybe
about
a
it.
little.
I think he does because he didn't kill Holly as soon as he got in that car.
Right.
He didn't. There were so many different things he didn't. Like
He stayed away from the baby.
I think there are ways that he's trying, and that's why I said for me, I think that the monster grabbed the cue because up until this point, Jack hadn't killed anybody.
Right.
Not yet.
And so when he killed that dude, and then he was sitting there, and he was just like, and you hear like that noise of the gnashing of the cartilage. You're like, oh my gosh. And Jack is just like, and so when he's driving, he pulled over. I thought Jack was dealing with the whole idea of, what have I done? I was thinking in my head, I was like, well, Jack is driving. So is the creature moving through the woods so that he could, and then when that hand, he was like handed to me and that hand came up, I was like, oh, and that's when I was like, you are just the worst. Because if you go back to Tracy Powell, remember Holly said that there was somebody working in tandem with the creature, and that kid, he couldn't kill himself. So the only way he knew how to kill himself was suicide through cop.
Right.
Oh, maybe Jack couldn't kill himself when he tried to. Like maybe they
Right.
physically can't.
And so I think there's that idea of I have a little bit where I have some autonomy where I can choose how to do these things. But this right here is it. You go do what I tell you to do,
Right.
or you're going to regret it.
Right.
And I just felt like Jack was he's in a no-win situation, and now he's traveling through on this journey with this creature literally on his back. It's devastating, but you're at the point now where you're like, they're starting to get it, and we see in this trailer, whether or not they believe, they got a bunch of people on their side because they're going in those caves looking for this thing.
But I think that they're not necessarily going looking for El Cuco. I think they're going looking for Claude.
True.
I don't think that mass of people that we saw is because here's the reality. Let's think. This has been a very pretty in regards to people's reaction to El Cuco has been pretty realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about if we told a group of 10, 15 people that the
The
boogeyman
boogeyman
was real.
True, I agree
I
with
think
that.
they're going. I think they're going after Claude.
But the thing is, I bet the group of them, the detectives, whether it's Ralph, Holly, they don't care. We got more people on our side,
Right.
and we saved Claude.
I thought it was just like townspeople. It looked like
They
townspeople.
look townspeople.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure there's going to be some detectives in there, but
And I thought the ending trailer. Did I see Claude get in the car too, with a bat?
Yes.
probably yeah, because I think the
Him and
brother
his
got
brother.
with him. Yeah, and
His brother.
Sealy?
the cool thing about this show is they didn't just go to Claude. You saw Claude's interaction with everybody around, and basically you saw the same thing that happened to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Claude was hanging out with his brother. He had a witness. Who you go believe? The DNA evidence or the junkie drug dealing
Waterman, whoever, yeah.
So Claude was doomed. And they told Claude the reason why we put you in that jail was because no one would believe your brother.
Mm-hmm.
They would believe those two police officers. You were in this cell the entire time. There's
Right.
cameras, there's paperwork. You were there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be honest. If they hadn't have made it, Claude would have still been in jail with his brother. That's the safest place for Claude to have been.
He should have stayed in jail.
And so,
I'm surprised they took him out.
well, they got him out, but the
Well,
thing is,
I guess they were like, well, now that he's in our custody, we're
yeah,
good.
we're good. But the thing is, when those detectives showed up, and they were like, "Yo, we need to talk to Claude," and they were like, "Nah, we got this."
Yeah.
And Hollywood, she wasn't giddy, but she looked at Ralph like, "Now."
Now it's time to,
Y'all, that ending scene with Holly looking at Ralph, and it was just like, it was like the biggest I told you so, but it was very humble. You know how Holly is. She's not going to rub it in his face. She don't
Yeah.
care about that. She doesn't care about being right. She just cares about stopping this creature.
Yeah.
Right.
But the way that she looked at Ralph,
But then she
and the
took
way that Ralph looked at her,
But the thing is, she took it one step too far because Ralph was trying to handle it, and then Holly was just like, "He's here," and you're like, "Be shut up!" Like
I don't think that is
Yeah.
going to be as big of a...
I think it is.
I don't think it's going to be that big
this
of
is
a
the
deal.
thing. Look how long, like you said, try to convincing those detectives that this is real. And Ralph is like, there's a way to talk to these people because you hadn't convinced me yet. Like I agree that there's something else here. He's come to that term, but he hadn't come to the whole realization of evil and all this other stuff. And then she goes, "He's here." So then you got to go and say, what's the next logical question to that?
Who's he, right?
There you go.
But here's
Yeah.
the thing. I think there's a way for Ralph to jump in and explain his way out of all of that. Like I don't think that's going to be a major turning point. I don't think they're going to be like, "Oh, we got to lock all of them up because she's talking crazy."
No, but go back to Ralph's face when he was like, he looks at Holly, he's like, "For real?"
Oh, I thought he was like,
No,
finally,
Ralph-
it was finally sinking
No,
in that
Ralph-
it was.
I took it as that.
I took it as it's finally
Ralph-
sinking in.
He's here, but when Holly said that to the police detectives, watch Ralph's face. Ralph was like, "You shouldn't have said that." Like, because it's one of those things where it's like,
I don't know, bro.
Put it like this: you ever been with your family and y'all know something, and then you divulge something that's family to somebody else, and your mom gives you that look of you shouldn't have said nothing.
But I don't feel like that's the look that Ralph gave.
I think it
I feel
is.
like that's a look of like, oh my god. Like to me, it was like
Because Ralph didn't.
She's right.
Because Ralph
This
didn't.
is real.
Because this is
This
the
is
thing.
happening.
Go back and look. Ralph didn't have the oh blank moment. He had the dad moment.
I feel
That's
like we need to
dad's
freeze
face.
frame this. I don't feel like that was a dad
That's
moment.
a dad's face.
Y'all, we can wrap up on this. You can let us know what moments you thought, what kind of face
Actually,
Ralph
you know
had.
what? That's gonna be a poll question.
There you go. Yeah.
Was Ralph coming to the realization that he believed, or was that a dad face that Holly told the secret?
He believed.
He believed. Like, comment, subscribe here for more of these foolish shenanigans. You can always find us here on YouTube, also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WOTX.com, and we're out.
Michael shut us down like a dad.
You got stuff to do.